The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised. To you, I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad. Actually, I want to start out Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Liberated Sisters. Today we have a great show in honor of Women's History Month. We are celebrating phenomenal liberated sisters. Our guest, attorney Nana Gyamfi. She's a human rights activist and also a human rights attorney, among other things. And also Barbara Becnel. We are going to be talking about social justice with the author activist. And also we're going to bring you the Farrakhan Factor with Brother Jesse Muhammad. But first, the Justice Report. Today's Justice Report out of the current Final Call newspaper is going to be fast and easy, but it's really a super horrific tragedy. White backlash worldwide. That's this current edition of the Final Call newspaper. You see it there. White anger, white insecurity, and global white terror. This article by our writers Brian E. Muhammad and Tarika Shakir Muhammad. They are discussing the tragedy in New Zealand, the murderous rage in New Zealand, which left 50 people killed in attacks on 2 mosques in Christchurch. It's part of a global, growing, and deadly resentment. This, according to analysts, activists, and scholars interviewed by the Final Call newspaper. The Final Call is jam-packed with much more. We also have accompanying that white nationalism, a worldwide threat unlikely to cease, by our contributing writer Barrington Salmon. And we also have Southern, get this, maybe Brother Jesse will chime in on this in the Farrakhan Factor. The Southern Poverty Law Center fires co-founder and faces charges of racism, sexism, opportunism. This is by our own editor-in-chief, Brother Richard Muhammad. One more about this piece. The firing of the co-founder of the Southern Poverty Law Center came as a shock, but perhaps more shocking were suspected reasons for his firing. Brother Richard writes that Morris Dees, who long served as the leader of the controversial group, told news organizations he had no idea why he was fired. Media outlets reported on concerns the Southern Poverty Law Center faced internal strife connected to a hostile work environment, concerns that the group used racial fears to feed its juggernaut of a financial operation, and charges of internal racism and sexism. I'll leave that story there, but if I could, and we're coming to the Farrakhan Factor very momentarily, I have to transition over, and you can get the full edition at finalcall.com, but I have to transition over to this one piece. I want to highlight it as we talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center, right? Because they, they've been targeting, or part of the targeting of our mosque and study groups across the country, and it's been wrong. They've just been outright wrong. And so we recently had a study group or mosque check that Southern Poverty Law Center, and we have that story in the Final Call. I saw it, so thank you for bearing with me as I find it. And here it is, right there. Activists defend local mosque against hate crime charges. This is from Brother Dwayne Muhammad. So the brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam are some of the finest role models in our community. This is a quote from one of those that he interviewed, but the Southern Poverty Law Center targeted our mosque in Milwaukee. And so the organization that identifies and monitors what it classifies as extremist organizations recently, yet again, named the Nation of Islam's Muhammad Mosque, this time number 3 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as one of 15 hate groups in the state. So I want to encourage you to get the Final Call. You can go to finalcall.com, see these stories online, but subscribe to the digital edition and certainly respond to the brother that comes with the bow tie. Brother Jesse, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Here we go. You know, Brother Jesse's going to fight you, okay?
Come on now.
We're getting ready to go into the Farrakhan factor right now. Let's go ahead and handle that, Brother Jesse. Before we actually come to you, I want to, set up this clip, Brother Jesse. I want you to do several things, okay? I want you to set up a clip because Savior's Day, and you and I talked about it, just about 30 days away, but it feels like it's so far in the timeline, but it just happened, right? Mm-hmm. And Minister Farrakhan was blessed, and he shared his blessings with us. We want to talk about the gifts that Minister Farrakhan was given, and that he displayed to the world this Savior's Day. So one of the clips we want to play is him with the Abuna Sheikh, and one right after you close out the Farrakhan factor is going to be the Messiah clip, okay? So, and I also want you to comment on the Southern Poverty Law Center. So let's do that now before we don't want to come behind the minister with them. Let's, these enemies. Go ahead, Brother Jesse. Let's talk about, did you hear what I mentioned about the Southern Poverty Law Center?
Absolutely. They're really the Southern Poverty Law Center because
right.
They have been falsely labeling not only the Nation of Islam, but for decades, our leaders and even white people and others,
right.
They have been falsely labeling them hate groups and us a hate group for the sake of fundraising.
Straight out.
I don't know who in their right mind would allow the Southern Poverty Law Center to be their go-to organization on designating hate.
Yeah.
Not only have they been utilizing their various platforms and their offices around the nation, but in the last couple of years, along with the Anti-Defamation League, or as some people call them, the Defecation League, they have implanted themselves now in Silicon Valley to advise these social media networks on how to target hate online, but yet in turn, when these social media platform heads have been targeted for their policies, the Southern Poverty Law Center is nowhere near there to defend them.
Right.
So these are people that are so snake-like in their maneuvers, and I want people to look this up. There's a writer by the name of Gerald Bayer, white guy, who is a accountant by trade, who, Sister Charlene, after Minister Farrakhan's Savior's Day address in 2018,
right,
he came on the scene and wrote an article for the Wall Street Journal attacking the minister, and nobody could figure out where did this guy come from. Who is he?
Come on.
Now Gerald Bayer, spelled Jeryl-Bayer, he's now has made a name for himself by attacking the minister and the nation, and he's definitely some kind of paid operative. But this is the interesting thing. When I did my research on this newfound independent journalist, as he called himself, in 2017, he actually was the one who wrote an article exposing the fact that the Southern Poverty Law Center had over $90 million in offshore accounts.
Check that.
Funds. I'm going to say that again. $90 million plus in offshore funding accounts by the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Wow.
So I asked Mr. Bayer, how did you go from exposing the SPLC to now being those who are part of the orchestra of attacking God's man today?
Yeah,
See,
on the payroll.
This is why the minister said, many of the media outlets and journalists are assets of the CIA and the government.
Right.
And so, but let me tell you something. You will not win in this day and time. And now the Southern Poverty Law Center is imploding within itself.
Come on.
The reach and the impact of the Anti-Defamation League on the masses is slowly waning. And now in Hollywood, you mock the minister about talking about the casting couch. But now, the casting couch is on trial today as Hollywood big giants and those are now being exposed for what they have been doing for decades.
Right.
In the degradation of women in the name of giving them roles. So, Minister Farrakhan's Savior's Day address is unraveling, and it's only been 30 days. And this is why, as we go into these clips, see, Jesus at a certain point, he just outright asks, well, what do they say about me? Well, he would not have had to ask that question if he was telling the people, Sister Charlene, directly who he was.
That's right.
So they start giving him answers. You the prophet. Oh, thou art the Christ. You this, you that. See, he let them say. But at a certain point in time, Jesus started talking that I am. He had to outright just put it out for the world to say, look, you had your chance to try to figure it out. Let me help you out and give you a peek into the man that you've been walking with and looking at.
That's right.
So at Savior's Day, the minister put on a shocking display. And I say shocking because he's the most humble man I've ever seen in my life. Human being, ever.
Yeah.
He put on display just some of the gifts that he has received, just a few, around the world. And it was so jaw-dropping of what he displayed. And it gave people a further, deeper hint into this man, as the scriptures say, a man is not without honor, except in his own country.
Yeah.
So the minister wanted to show us here in America how he has been received around the world, and it definitely has created a lot of conversation. Wow.
Praise be to Allah. Well, Brother Jesse, what I would like for you to do, actually a little different than before, is go ahead and set up those clips, the Abuna Sheikh and the Messiah, and give your closing remark for the Farrakhan factor, and then we'll play those clips and then roll on out.
Absolutely. So what we're about to play is the Abuna Sheikh, who the minister met in 1998. He was 104 years old at that time, had since made his transition. But this Abuna Sheikh was referred to as the Sheikh of all sheikhs, meaning all of the Islamic scholars of the world would come line up for days just to try to get an audience with him. And many of them, they would be sitting outside by the billy goats, Sister Charlene, in the dirt.
Not the billy goats.
The billy goats, waiting to talk to him. But when he found out that the minister was in Mecca, he invited the minister to meet with him, and the minister wasn't sitting by the billy goat.
That's right, in the dust.
The minister was one of few invited into the Sheikh's private quarters.
Alhamdulillah.
To have a one-on-one meeting, and this Abuna Sheikh said that he prayed on the minister 500 times a day.
That's right.
A day. And said that the minister is a man full of courage. And then the minister is only one of two people that actually has a photo.
That's right.
With this Abuna Sheikh. And it was said that before he made his transition, Minister Farrakhan was the last person that he even met with.
Wow. Oh,
so
Allah.
This goes out to all of those who keep saying that the minister and the nation is not real Muslims. We don't follow the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Well, the Sheikh of all sheikhs passed on his power of his cloak and his staff to the minister. And the other clip that we're going to play, you know, people love to call the minister anti-Semitic.
Come on.
And many of us know by now, if you're a black person in America, even a white person in America, anybody of intelligence should know by now that a black person cannot be anti-Semitic when we are the original Semitic people. Come on now.
Can't do it.
So, but however, there were some rabbis that visited the minister's suite some years ago, and they waited downstairs until it was time to come up. And this rabbi, who actually made his transition last year, him and some others presented the minister with a plaque, a chalice and a plaque, and the inscription read that the Minister Farrakhan, you are the Messiah to the world.
Wow. So we're going to show the viewers this. And before we go, Brother Jesse, I want to let you know Sister Molly Bell. And Molly, thank you so much. And all of you who came to Sister Felicia Morris Media Studios podcast training. Thank you for coming. And Sister Molly, thank you also. Molly said, I had always thought that the Southern Poverty Law Center were good guys. Thanks for telling us to look this up. Every lie has an expiration date. Woo!
Oh.
Powerful from Sister Molly Bell.
And
Eleanor
that's the
Pot.
Farrakhan factor
Oh
right
my
there.
God. Thank you, Sister Eleanor, for tuning in. Walaikum salam. Shana Joy X Now of Nation Time. You said it right. Minister Farrakhan gave gifts to, absolutely. And Brother Hilario, Isam Alaikum. So the people are tuning in. Brother Jesse, thank you for the Farrakhan factor. We're going to play these back-to-back clips. If you get a moment, everybody share. Let them know that Liberated Sisters is on. We have attorney Nana Gyamfi coming up, and we have Sister Barbara Becnel. But right now, we're going to continue with the Farrakhan factor. Here's Minister Farrakhan from 2019 Savior's Day. Brother Jesse, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
The Abuna Sheikh, father of sheikhs, the Sheikh of all sheikhs, who's in Medina.
Yes, sir.
Put him up on the screen. He is respected as one of the top spiritual authorities in the world, who lived in Medina and received me in his humble dwelling. When he laid eyes on me, he spoke these words with strength. Shaja'a, Shaja'a, Shaja'a. It means courage, boldness, bravery, valor, guts, brawler, spunk. He knew that Farrakhan was one of the most courageous men in the world because he has called Satan out for the fight. He said to me, brother, I pray for you 500 times a day. And this was also mentioned by one of his students.
Yes, sir.
When I went downstairs to have some tea, a little argument was going on.
That's right.
Upstairs. I wasn't paying it any attention.
That's right.
But on my departure, he gave the minister his cloak,
Yes, sir.
his cape. In Arabic, it's called mishla, which means inheritance and authority.
Yes, sir.
Whatever he was over, he gave it to me.
It's no longer in Medina.
It's no longer in
In
Medina.
Medina. It's here.
Put it over my shoulder.
It is gold.
He gave me his staff.
His spoken staff.
His staff in Arabic is called asaya, which means authority. Now, I'm just traveling in the world making friends,
No idea.
meeting friends,
Right.
and now they're telling me something about myself that I was not aware of. A beautiful chalice, silver, in a cup that the chalice is placed in. Get the picture. Two Jewish rabbis
Yes, sir.
stayed for hours downstairs in the lobby of our hotel.
Yes, sir.
And they came upstairs finally. Mr. Harry Belafonte was in my suite. We were talking. And the Jewish rabbis gave me this. And believe me, people give me stuff. But I was so dumb, I didn't know what this is, you know.
Yes, sir.
But I went home and I read the words
Yes, sir.
to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You are the Messiah of the world. Look at this. And you are the Messiah to every human who wants to be civilized.
Hey, how can you argue with that? So beautiful. Brother Jesse has me cracking up when the minister said, get the picture. Yeah, he has much, much more, but he only just gave us a snapshot, you know. As we make way, and that's our Farrakhan factor for today, but as we make way for Attorney Nana Gyamfi, I do want to share something with you. Look, this word of God is so poignant and is so life-saving. Liberated Sisters wants to give you a free copy of last week's issue of the Final Call newspaper so you can know what's happening and be abreast. You read this Final Call, you can sit down and talk with anybody. I mean, intelligently about complete world affairs, not just what's happening here in Leimert Park, not just what's happening in our community or our city or state or the country, but the world. And in this last week's issue that I'll be gifting you with, and again, it's free. It's free. No right to free speech. You know, Representative Ilhan Omar, she has been really receiving death threats, our Ethiopian sister in Congress. And we want people to know that it's not okay. Also in this issue, we talk about the best and worst states for women. There was a report. Allah blessed me to be able to get this assignment and write about this report. Best and worst states for women. Also, we have Black women and the ugly reality of domestic violence here. And of course, we have the Honorable Elijah Muhammad right there with the Muslim program. So those are free. You can get those on this Sunday at the mosque. Hit me up on Facebook. Put in, I want a free copy. I have 10. Let me know your name and you'll be picking it up and I will put that down. The address is 8701 South Vermont. Okay? Let's make way for Attorney Nana Gyamfi. Nana, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, my sister. Always fabulous, fabulous, fabulous to be on Liberated Sisters with my liberator.
It's so good to have
Charlene.
you. Oh, Nana, I love and admire you so much. Oh, my God, it's so good to see you. Nana Gyamfi is a total warrior. She's been an attorney. She's had over 2 decades of experience in fighting. I witnessed them. I've witnessed 2 of them, not all of them, but 2 of them, fighting for justice in our community. She's been in the courts, she's fighting on the airwaves, she's in the community, she's on the sidewalks, at the courthouse, in front of City Hall. I saw this sister snatch one of our young activists, Jasmine Abdullah of Black Lives Matter, out of the clutches of the system when they tried to charge her and send her away for a long time with felony lynching charges. Nana, come on. Let me let you have the airwaves right now. Assalamu alaikum again.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so very much for that, Sister Charlene, for those, yes, the memories of the battles, and we've been on so many front lines together. I honor you on this Her Story Month, which is a month in which we have to lift up Black women and the work that Black women have been doing. Not just the visible work, right? Not always in front of the camera, not always on the airwaves as we have the blessing to be, but also just in our homes, in our communities. Who's feeding the Black community? Who is visiting the sick? Who is visiting the houseless? Who is working on the prison ministries? Who is making sure that we have the economics, whether it's passing the hat or whether it's donation. It's like, who's in the street, who's on the front line with the signs,
That's
Black women.
That's
Black women. We are defining for all the movements, whether it be the movement for climate change, whether it be movements dealing with mass incarceration, whether we're talking about immigration. When we look at who's in the front, it is black women in the front setting the standard and doing the work.
Come on, Nana. We had kind of taken on this slave masters, enemies mentality of who we were, water drawers or who we're supposed to be. But we're rulers. I mean, we're right there, if not in front, with our men. And we have not had problems with them until we got here. You defended this sister, our new Congresswoman, Representative Ilhan Omar, so great. I thank you for your words about her. And you talked about some of your own experience with this beast that came and is coming against her, right? But Nana is also the executive director for the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, and there's a web. Nana, there's so much we got to talk about.
I know.
Oh my God! Let me get composed. There's a webinar coming up, but Nana, you take it. Whatever you want to share. I just want to celebrate you, and I miss having you here. So take it away.
Thank you so very much. Just let me point out the webinar quickly. Yes, my sister, appreciate you. Black Alliance for Just Immigration, the organization that really leads on the issue of black immigration, advocating, educating, speaking up on behalf of black immigrants, but also, very critical, also uniting African Americans and black immigrants under the umbrella of racial, social, and economic justice.
Right.
Because though we know we come from different places and have different ethnicities and different experiences, we know that we're only going to whoop this white boy.
Whoop.
If we come together. We know that separately it's not going to happen, but together we're unstoppable. And so right now we have a situation in which we have Liberian folks. People know the history of African Americans and Liberia. The founders of the current country of Liberia were, in fact, Africans returning from the United States of Americans, United States of America, the who now would be called African Americans. And Liberia suffered a horrible civil war, of course fomented by the U.S. government, pitting Afro-American, the Americo-Liberians versus the indigenous Liberians, and the U.S. not just fanning the flame, but starting that fire. Folks from Liberia came here. This is over 26 years ago. And on April 1st, if we're not able to push back, those Liberians that came here under that auspice are going to be undocumented or forcibly removed. Now, I know I ask people, how many of you like to move from one house to another, from one apartment to another, within your own same city, let alone being forced to leave? They're not going to be able to go into work, Sister Charlene. Because if they go into work April 1st, they're going to be locked up and thrown in deportation cages. And there's no reason you have 100,000 undocumented white Irish people in this country.
Right.
And they are not figuring out how to get rid of them.
No, they're welcome. Right? This is their baby country. That's why. This is Babylon.
Exactly. But when you look at the Liberians, they are ready to send the Liberians home either, voluntarily or you're going home in chains.
Wow.
But, some way we're getting you out of here. And it's so important that folks tune into this webinar. Clearly, if you're a Liberian listening to this, if you can hear our voices, we definitely want you to tune in. But even if you are not Liberian, just as a black person, let's see how we can help our siblings. And so if you go to baji.org, BAJI.org, we're having a webinar this Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're having a webinar where you can learn more about the situation and also who you need to call, what you need to do to keep our people from being put through this torturous situation.
Nana, thank you so much. We're going to make way in a few minutes for Barbara Becnel. Remember Barbara Becnel?
Oh, yes.
A scholar, author, activist, social justice activist, editor, fought hard for Brother Stan Tookie Williams, former Crip turned activist educator. She's going to be coming up next, our other phenomenal woman that we're celebrating today. But would you have any closing remarks that you would like to share before you go?
Absolutely. I think that, we have to, again, talk more about how we are connected, and it's going to be
That's
sisters
right.
that are making that connection, right?
That's
So when we
right.
talk about Audre Lorde, we're talking about Grenada and Barbados.
Mm.
Those are where her parents are from, and she fought here on behalf of black folk who now are describing themselves in some cases as African descendants of slaves. She fought for black folks here, and we use her words every day. Shirley Chisholm, same combination, Grenada and Barbados,
Come on.
something about that combination, right?
Right.
And we look at the fight that's been done here on behalf, on her behalf. Claudia Jones out of Trinidad. And then, of course, we don't want to forget the brothers, though it's her History Month. And we know that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, we know about those Caribbean roots. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
We
That's
know
right.
about Kwame Ture. We know about his Caribbean roots. Marcus Garvey and his wives, Amy Jacques and Amy Ashwood Garvey. So we know that we have, for a long time, forever, have worked together in this fight for liberation. And so I'm asking my sisters to keep on keeping on and to keep on being connected and to not allow anyone to come between us.
That's right. Attorney Nana, thank you. We are one, in the words of Frankie Beverly and Mays. We are
That's right.
one. Sister, thank you so much. Her website is attorneynana.com, and it looks great, Nana. Thank you so much for taking time, and may God continue to bless you forever. Forever.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Sister Charlene. Appreciate you. Love you. Blessings, blessings. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I talked to Nana. We love Nana Gyamfi around here. Let me tell you, Nana was on the fight front line for Geronimo Gijaga Pratt. Oh, she worked for the attorney Johnny Cochran, just on and on. Oh, the Free LA 4 out of the LA Rebellion. But do we have Barbara?
Yes.
Okay.
Here I am.
Oh, Barbara. Hey. Okay, Barbara, I don't see you, but I can hear you. How are you?
I'm fine. You can't see me. I put myself on. I put the camera on.
Okay.
No?
No, she'll get you in, but we can continue
Okay.
as I want to set it up. Let me set you up, Barbara. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Barbara's another phenomenal Liberated Sisters. I just want to make sure to connect and reconnect Liberated Sisters with. So again, you may remember her. She's a very strong advocate and editor for former Crip turned author activist Stanley Tookie Williams. There's Sister Barbara. Hi, Barbara. You look
Hello,
so beautiful.
Sister Charlene. This is great being able to communicate and chat with you today. So thank you
Yes.
for thinking of me.
Yeah, it's so good to see you. You look so glamorous as ever.
Oh, my goodness.
Barbara's
Hanging
gonna-
in there for an old broad, right?
Yeah, don't look a day of it. That hasn't aged. Oh, my God. So Barbara's going to be discussing, among other things, her recent published article, Epistemology of the Streets, Why Youth Gangs Ignore the Rule of Law. And this is found in the LLM Law Review. She completed this for a Master of Science degree with distinction, okay, from the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. And so Barbara has a very long curriculum vitae. That's just a very expert resume for those who may not have heard that before. I would like to say that this year she's working on an interdisciplinary doctoral degree in law and education at the same university. And again, Barbara, welcome to Liberated Sisters.
Thank you.
I left out so much. I know I did, but I'm just happy you're here. You're phenomenal. You've been an inspiration to me. And when we reconnected, I was saying, what are you doing? And I was floored, but not surprised, but just how it seems like in such a short amount of time, you've accomplished all these things. We talked, of course, you and I, about Governor Gavin Newsom here, the California governor, calling a moratorium on the death penalty. And
Yes.
so let's start out with your paper and informing our viewers of that phenomenal work that you've done, and then throw in the death penalty and anything else you want to talk about. We have a good 25 minutes for you.
Okay, thank you.
It's all yours.
Let me first start off by saying the title or your theme tonight or today about liberated women. That's sort of a perfect theme for me because what I'm learning is that the more mature I become, the older I become, the more liberated I am becoming.
Wow.
And
Check
that
out.
speaks to the work that I'm doing now. I decided a few years ago that I was going to reinvent myself and to still do the work that I'm doing, but do it from a different angle. And the angle is now to get at how we're taught at the university level, how at the university level, how we even train teachers to teach at the public school level. And so I decided to go to a school in Europe, University of Edinburgh in Scotland, which is almost a 500-year-old university. Okay. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go right into the bastion of European thinkers and philosophy and see what are these, what's the basis of how we're taught and how we're taught to think. And it also turns out the policy that we live under is largely based on sort of European intellectualism and the way they think. So I got there. Now what I call myself is a renegade scholar.
Okay.
Because I got there, I looked and read their stuff, and I said, okay, this is inadequate for us. Absolutely. It is just inadequate, and I have to both critique this and actually deconstruct European philosophy and intellectualism, deconstruct it and create a whole new basis. So the scholars who come behind me, they have something to go to. I didn't have anything to go to. I just had to start deconstructing and then reconstructing. So that's how I got to the work that I'm doing. I'm sorry, Charlene, were you about to say something?
No, I'm just fascinated, and I love what you're saying, but this is who I've known all these years. This is Barbara. When you said that, I was like, yeah, sounds about right. And I used the word, of course, out of your paper that I didn't know what it was, and I want to just make sure to share it with the viewers. Epistemology is the study of how humans think, pretty much. But go ahead, Barbara.
Epistemology is how we think. How, what are the sort of what's the belief system? What that underlies what we do that we don't even think about. Excuse me, we don't even think about it when we're doing something or when our values are being demonstrated. We're not thinking, oh, these are my values or this is my belief system. We just function and do it, and that's what epistemology is. That stuff sort of behind, they call it behind the eyeball, stuff that really directs your behavior. So
remote control, so to speak.
Right, exactly. So the key is, what value system and what belief system do we as Black people want to live by? That's number one. And then we have to recognize when we're being told how we're supposed to live. So a lot of the research that I saw made so many assumptions based on their epistemology about what Black people should be thinking, what we should be doing, how we should be living. And then the policy is all based on how do we convert Black people into being like us, even though, and to me the ironic part is, even if they could succeed, which would not be a good option, but even if they could, they don't really want us. It's just so ironic. They don't really want us. I go back to 20-something years ago when the Crips and the Bloods in 1992 were having their first gang truce. And I was fortunate in that the two of the gang truce leaders, a Crip and a Blood, allowed me to sort of hang out with them and see for myself what was going on. And what I learned was that a variation of what I'm talking about now, all these years later in Scotland, which is here they had changed. They were trying to say, okay, we'll stop gang banging and we want to be like you guys, so help us. And every single politician, corporate leader, they all said, well, you guys need to change your ways for at least 5 years and prove to us that you've really changed and prove to us how much you want to be like us before you'll help us, before we'll help you.
Wow.
And so they were like, but we need help now. If we don't get help for the 4 or 5 years, then things aren't going to go well. Well, obviously they didn't get the help and things didn't go well, but that's not the solution. And I guess what I've been doing in Scotland in learning what the philosophical and theoretical structures that are in our universities in the U.S. that shape our public policy in the U.S. and in the Western world. I wanted to know what they were, and then I wanted to deconstruct them, and I wanted to work on the rest of my life in constructing a theoretical and philosophical perspective that serves our people rather than hurts and hinders our people. So the epistemology of the streets and the subhead is why youth gangs ignore the rule of law. I just analyzed
Good job.
the thought system that I grew up with as a middle-class Black person being taught to do everything to make white people happy.
Do it
I mean, that was really something.
this way, this way, this way. Yeah.
I had to
Wow.
I had to get rid of that epistemology because I wasn't going to live my life with that paradigm. But
Right.
Given my generation, the way I was raised, it was, oh no, if you do that, white people aren't gonna like you, and
Yeah.
so thank God I got past that.
Wow.
Thank goodness. But that's the way I was raised in the 1950s and 1960s. That's how Black middle class folks were raised. But when I
Fascinating.
stepped into the hood, a little more than 25 years ago, and looked at that, they had a different epistemology, a different way of viewing the world. And I thought, I could judge this or I can learn from this. And I'm so glad that I was guided by Spirit to decide to learn and not to judge. And it has certainly transformed me and changed me. And now this this current journey I've reinvented myself in this current journey is I want to just take the underpinnings out of a system of learning and teaching that has hurt us for hundreds of years.
Wow.
So that's my current goal.
We thank you for that work. That is tremendous, because I know when we spoke, you talked about how the scholars there just had very definitive mindsets about, and you mentioned some of it just now, our youth and so-called gangs, but you were able to show them, no, you don't have it right. And not only that, you wowed them to a very big degree. So whenever we can get into these cracks and crevices and tell the truth, like wherever
That's
the truth
right.
is about us, is a really great thing. And I appreciate that about what you're sharing about that. And they just flip the script, because the images of our people go across the world that's developed, devised, schemed, hatched up here in Hollywood, which is falling apart, by the way. But go ahead, Barbara.
I love that. Put that phrase, Sister Charlene, in my PhD. So, but I'll give you credit for
Wait,
it.
what happened?
I like that.
What?
Hatched up. That is so
I don't
true.
even think it's mine, but go ahead. No, but it's
That
right,
is so
because
true
it's
because
we don't call it
wait,
production.
let me tell you the other thing that I did
Yeah.
that threw them for a loop. Even for my master's, and I'm doing it for the PhD too.
Yeah.
But for my master's dissertation, I went and got three men who had been former gangsters to be what I called my co-researchers.
Good.
And I said, they're not participants. I'm not interrogating them. They're here to interrogate me.
Come on.
And make sure I get it right.
Yeah.
And I said, and they had to approve it. You have to submit a proposal, an ethics proposal, when you're writing a master's dissertation and a PhD thesis, and they have to approve what you're doing and how you're going about it, and that's part of it. but they approved it. They never quite heard of that. That I was calling them co-researchers. I said, no, they're not participants.
That's right.
They're co-researchers, and I listed their names, and I picked some different ones for my PhD because I'm doing a different topic. I'm really focused on folks on death row for my PhD, but for my master's, I was looking at folks who had been in solitary confinement for prolonged periods of time, like 20 years or more. So I'm using different ones to be my co-researchers.
Yeah.
So at any rate, it's been an enlightening experience for them in Scotland, and for me, it's been. I'll have to tell you, once I sort of figured all this out and got the hang of it, it's been a lot of fun deconstructing European Enlightenment theory.
Yeah,
It's been a lot of fun.
Lie that just melts away. It's like, in the movies you see all the superhero and comes away, and the person is just like, all the different particles just fall away. We uphold this system, Barbara. Let's be honest about it. We really uphold it. It's been so unjust, and as you said, as Nana said before you, as Brother Jesse said before her, it needs to be deconstructed. The whole system is flawed. It's built on a lie, and it's built on the backs of people.
And by the way, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things I'm starting with ideas and language. So, and like you said about how we uphold what hurts us, and so one of the things, because I'm dealing in urban communities and issues with urban communities, I just refuse. All of the research that I read refers to urban communities as ghettos, inner cities, disadvantaged areas. So I just said, okay, we have to start with even language and the ideas and concepts behind language, because it's meant to be pejorative. It's meant to be a denigration of who we are. It's meant to be a shorthand word or phrase that is a code for meaning a whole lot of other bad things. Yeah. So I just said, and as I was thinking about my master's project, I thought, what I've learned from spending more than 25 years researching and being in urban communities is it's a very sort of profound, a very potent and powerful place with a lot of complexity, and that's not dealt with by calling it the ghetto and the inner city and disadvantaged and this and that and the black ghetto. So I came up with a new phrase. So I'm hoping your listeners will agree with this and start using it. I don't use inner city that wasn't other than to say I'm not using it. Yeah. I never used it, and what I use now is I call our community, I call it the deep community, DEEP, the deep community. And I mean it both in a metaphorical way as well as sort of literally, because for hundreds of years, where we live, let's talk from the moment they dragged us here, kidnapped us, and brought us here. We had a designated place to be. We had constraints on where we could live, and you track our history, our housing history with, the black communities, or we were separated. We had to be, so we were isolated from day one. And, but within that isolation, we've developed a lot of sort of complexity and richness that is so potent that when we express ourselves, like you said, it spreads all over the world, not even just Hollywood, but even our music, our hip hop, our rap, and it emerges from our community. Yeah. And so our community is deep. Is
Yeah,
deep in
I get
in
that.
the idiom way of thinking of that's really heavy, that's really deep,
Yeah,
that's really significant and powerful and potent. And we're tucked away. We're tucked away in communities throughout the United States because we were isolated for that was the goal, that was the
yeah,
plan for
yeah,
so many hundreds of years.
yeah.
So we're a power. We're like little mini empires
With
within the
assault,
empire,
with
and
assault.
so to me, the deep
I
community
like it.
is a more respectful way of getting at what we are, who we are, and our complexity.
I like it, Barbara. And the other reason I like it, so many reasons I like it, but we are the original man.
That's
And
right.
when you talk about our communities being tucked away, the thing of it is we're the heart of society. People come into our community where they have isolated us and take, right?
That's right.
And feed off of us. They provide us goods and services and then they leave. So we uphold this actual whole society and country. And the minute we realize that, and we really do, Black people are rising, indigenous people are rising, native people are rising, and the society as we know it is changing and shifting. Of course, we have gentrification, it's bad, but even something good will be coming out of that. I won't go into that. It's spiritual warfare.
Right.
There's a
Right.
battle between God and Satan. It's real. But I just wanted to say I like that, the deep, because it's all about code. And also, when you hear certain words, people will just toss something out. Oh, okay. I'm not interested. But go ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. We get written off.
exactly.
And we're
Wow.
and the complexity is just so, I just very recently sent an email to a scholar in she was from Greece, but she had the same bias because the bias is spread worldwide, right?
Yeah.
And she wrote me something, and I just wrote her back, look, and I explained all of the complexities. What she was suggesting I read was, unfortunately, it was a Black scholar who had written it, but he was a Black scholar who was still functioning in their world rather than deconstructing their world.
White
So,
supremacy
but
is a
she was
mindset.
using that as, well, what about that? And then,
Yeah.
I talked about that, all of the complexity that he missed in his analysis. So
Yeah.
anyway, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a liberating time
It is.
for me. And so I'm still essentially working in the same social justice activism. I'm still that world. I'm still
Good.
a fighter for prison reform, like that. So I did want to talk a little bit about what Gavin Newsom did, and also what's right with it and what's still wrong with it.
Well, let me add something. Let me add something as you say that, and I'm glad you segued there. I think we can take 3 minutes on it. I want to let you know, as you begin to talk about this, there are 8 men hunger striking in Alabama right now over conditions, but also being put in solitary confinement, they say, without any infractions, no reason. And the prison is saying, according to the reports and the attorneys, that they're trying to keep the peace. There's supposed to be a big fight, but they're moving the peacekeepers out of the worst prison in the state. So as you talk about the death penalty, Gavin Newsom's moratorium, yes, I wanted you to know that. There's a hunger
Okay,
strike
thank
in
you
Alabama.
for that. And also, when we get through with this, text me information on that, because I'll see if I can't reach out to. I was on the mediation team for the guys on in solitary confinement here in
Okay.
California a few years ago,
I'll do
who
that.
fought that,
I'll
and
send it.
it took 3 years, but they won. So I would love to maybe try to reach out and see what I can do to help these men
Indeed. I'll put
who
you
are
in-
suffering in Alabama. So thank
Yeah.
you for that. But let me quickly tell you, I guess we're running out of time. So let
Okay.
me quickly tell you,
You
my
got it.
thoughts on Gavin Newsom.
Thank you.
All right. Obviously, it's good that he called a moratorium, and the 737 people who are currently on death row in the state of California for the next 4 years while he's governor cannot be executed. So let's be clear on, he did not end the death penalty in California. What he's done is he's created a moratorium that says nobody can be executed while I'm governor. So that's good that at least for the next 4 years no one can be executed. But here's what's still insufficient with that. And that is, number one, they'll still be continuing in the court, in the realm of courts, in the appellate courts, appealing their cases, such that at the end of the 4 years or whenever his term as a governor is up, there'll be even more people. Right now, there's supposedly about 27 people that are ready to be executed.
Wow.
4 years of going through the process, just not being able to be executed, but going through the process means you're eventually, by the time the moratorium ends, there'll be far more people ready to be executed. So, what are we going to be? Are we going to be like Texas? One time I had hit Texas and was in a cab, and they were advertising it like it was a product being sold. It was the weirdest thing about how there were two people being executed in one day in Texas. So is California going to end up with 50 people, 100 people to be executed over the next few months? I mean, once the moratorium is over, so it's not enough to have a moratorium. Number two, what he is also still capable of doing in his capacity of governor is commuting sentences. So he should do, to me, what an Illinois governor did, maybe about 10 or 12 years ago. He emptied out death row. He commuted everybody's sentence. So you can do a moratorium and stop them from being executed while you're governor.
Wow.
But if you commuted their sentence, you could empty death row.
Wow.
Now the next issue, though, is one last issue.
Okay.
And that is, what do you commute them to? Most governors would commute to life without the possibility of parole. I do not believe in life without the possibility of parole. So my argument would be commute to life with the possibility of parole.
Okay.
So now, meanwhile,
I hate to interrupt you, Barbara.
We've got to go. All right.
I got the timestamp, but look, you are saying absolutely what I'm hearing people say should be done. I want to have you back, okay, for a full hour so we can continue delving into that and do maybe a Q&A. I'll let you know when.
Okay.
Okay, and Barbara,
wonderful.
Thank you so much. Again, sorry to break through. We have some more shows coming up at the station, but I love you, and I'll talk to you very soon, God willing.
Okay, love you too.
All right.
Take care.
Peace and
Bye-bye.
blessings. That's our show for today. Thank you so much, Attorney Nana Gyamfi, Brother Jesse Muhammad with the Farrakhan Factor, Sister Felicia, the Poetess Morris for Morris Media Studios, having us here, morrismedialive.com for the full lineup. I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad saying if it's impacting our community or can uplift us as a people, let's talk about it. Peace.